Welcome to an evening with Neil Armitage, who is a member of the Ellis Clark Trains team. If anyone has any specific requests, please let us know via the chat so Neil can cover those too. Welcome, Neil. Thank you for joining us, and over to your good self.
Thank you very much for that. Good evening, everybody. Basically, what I want to do this evening, we're going to do a black five, but within the hour we've got, I cannot weather a black five. A black five like the one you see behind us or the one you've seen on the pictures and the images that we've been sending out recently takes me sort of 4 to 5 hours to do. So what I'm going to do this evening is use one of our early pre-production models, which is the same livery, the same everything really, that's been at the shows for the last 6 to 8 months. And I'm going to go through some techniques that I use on the Black Five. That'll be things like doing the inside of the tender bunker. It'll be underframes. It'll be greasy axle boxes, greasy buffers. We'll also then move on to the loco itself and we'll do smoke boxes, how we get them looking that they've been sort of weathered, rust starting to appear, etc. We'll also do some little effects on the front of the locomotive running plate that somebody's requested to know about. We'll cover those. I know last time we did the press flow, there were plenty of people asked via the guild what paints I use, what codes, etc. Tomorrow, me and Amy are going to write all them up and we'll get them emailed over to one of you, so you can put that on your website exactly. I will run through again. They have basically the very similar colours to what we were using on the press flow, same range of colours. So first of all, what I'm going to start off with is to say that all the paints I'm going to be using are all going to be acrylic water-based. That's what I personally use. I've nothing against enamels if people want to use an enamel paint. That's fine. I just feel that nowadays acrylics are so varied on colours, they dry so quickly, and also you've got to appreciate I'm working in a work environment modeling, which means okay, I'm not up against time, but Ellis has got to allocate a time for me to do a model. We've got to work something out. So I need to think about drying times, and paints dry pretty instantly when they're acrylics. I'm not having to wait, 6 to 8, 12 hours for an enamel paint to dry. I just couldn't get through the volume of weathering that I have to get through. So first of all, we're going to start off with Ellis is going to be moving, just so you know, Ellis is going to move the video camera around so you can see better. I'm gonna start working on the tender. Now, the first thing I'm going to do on this particular tender, I'll try to during the video, I'm going to point with a knife rather than doing this with a finger, so you know exactly where I am. The first things I always like to do on a loco is the buffer beams. Now, the way I normally do mine is we're just going to use some black, what we call Valero surface primer. I'm just going to capillary a little bit out into a little dish. And then next thing I'm going to do is just get a reasonably large brush, a little bit of water on it, water it down ever so slightly, and I'm going straight over it, straight over the lot, and we're just going to paint it in black. Looks a bit awful at the moment, but in a second or two you'll see what we're going to achieve. So this is the first preliminaries before any weathering starts with a gun or anything like that. So, and we're going to do the same on the front buffer beam as well on the locomotive. And just timed lovely, we've just had a phone call coming in, even though we're shut. Sorry about that, everybody. Next thing, as you can see now, looks a horrible mess. Cotton wool bud, and we're going to start rolling. And we're taking off the paint. Nicely taking it off. Work his way over it, but it will still leave the paint, the black, round the rivet heads, round the areas on the buffer beam that you can't get to in the crevices. So we'll work his way over, take most of that off. Don't forget underneath as well. It's a place that bugs me on some weathering, that people don't weather underneath. Now, round these areas here, which are the steps on the top of these buffers, clean them off a little bit. This side where a chap would have been underneath, getting up, doing a coupling, he would knock it off with maybe his back and things like that. clean them off. That's that bit done now. Straight away, we'll leave that. That'll dry as we're working on it. We don't need to worry about it. It'll just dry in a few moments. That means that underneath any weathering we're putting on, we've got a dirty, greasy colour already. So that's that one. The next one I'm going to do on this one, I'm just going to nip to the colours that I've got ready here. And we're going to use, same again, life colour. I call this one, it's called Track Dirt. It's a life colour acrylic, and you could say it's a rusty brown colour. You probably see that there if you can. I'm just going to pop some inside. I'm not worried if there's a little bit of black on my brush. Not bothered. I'm not going to clean my brush out for that little bit. Pop it in, a little bit more water, a little bit of black in with it as well to just darken it down, maybe a little tone different again, and each one's different. Just check we're spraying. Yeah, we're spraying all right. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to work here rather than in my spray booth tonight so you guys can see it. I'm going to go in there, and inside this bunker is now going to be just lightly sprayed. I'm not going to spray it perfectly as if we were spraying the model in this sort of red oxide type colour. I'm just going to go in and spray all the bunker area. This is its initial colour. We'll start adding other colours on top of it later on. But you can see now, hopefully, you can see she's starting to change colour inside. Try to get all the way around on both sides. Because later on we'd be adding coal, etc. to this. Now on our Black 5, we've decided not to have it with coal deliberately. Doesn't come with an insert or anything. It's just an empty bunker as it should be with the coal rail, tunnel, etc. Next thing I'm going to do is turn it upside down, and I'm going to start to do the brake pull rods. Get some colour on those. They're not going to stay this red oxide colour because we are going to weather over this later on, but it just adds to the actual colour of the underneath. If you look through, you can see there, you've got your brake blocks showing here. I'm going to do the brake blocks as well initially, and I can spray through on those from here. Ellis is just asking me, do I want to move in at weathering? If we could, it'd be nice to, but I know it's
moving location.
It's a little bit awkward, and I appreciate that for everybody. It's not easy, is it?
Perhaps if I invested in a better working area for Neil, he might have goals. Hang on.
That could be his Christmas bonus this year.
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay. So we're now going to do underneath these here on both sides. At the back, etc. Now, hopefully you can see on that now, she's starting to get some paint underneath her, some colouring underneath her.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same now on the actual locomotive itself. Now, point again for you, I'll come round. On these, we've got a lovely ash pan area, if we can see in there, where we can get a load of lovely dark browns and whites later on, where it's been heated up to, you know, a couple of 100 degrees and it's blistered all the metalwork. So I'm going to go in and spray in there. Because obviously in a few minutes, we're going to be doing the initial underframe dirt colour over the top of all this, which will tone it down a little bit anyway. So it won't be as red oxide looking and jumping out at you. Like I say, this Black 5 is a pre-production one, so it's one of the really early ones. And also at this stage as well, if it's a BR one and we're doing end of steam, I'll start getting a little bit on the front of the cylinders as well, ready for later on, and it's in the weathering roll, and maybe a little bit more on around the smoke box area. Okay. I'm just weathering across all the pipe work underneath. We can tone all this lovely copper pipe work that Ellis has invested money and time in. Get rid of it all, even though it's proper copper, we'll get rid of it all. And that's that one done. I'm just going to pause for a second to just very quickly clean me gun out of this colour. Because what we're then going to do is I'm just going to put on the next colour we're going to use, which is Underframe Dirt. Same brand. Underframe Dirt, which is going on now. Frame Dirt. So once again, it's a life colour 719, which is called Frame Dirt. And this is more like a sort of a mid-brown colour. Just going to mix them up again in the pot. A little bit of water, because most of these are ready to go more or less straight away. Okay, we'll go back to the tender. And I'm just going to start doing the frames. I like to do upside down as well, so we're getting underneath properly, working his way around.
Neil, while you're doing that, how do you get on with getting paint behind the steps?
Just going to say that now. I'm just about doing it now.
Okay.
You're on about behind here.
Yes.
I would literally just go in there now. They're done now. Look, you can see me.
Yeah.
Done now. They're done now. Next thing that's one of my pet hates is wheels that are not weathered on wheel rims all the way around. Luckily, the Black 5's helical, so we can turn it whilst we're actually with no power. Otherwise, I would have me power running and have a moved. But we'll work our way around on all the wheel rims on these. Now, on the Ellis Clark Locos, they're all chemically blackened. They're all the wheel rims anyway, which makes them a lot nicer for painting. So they're not going to come with a silver edge or anything like that. If they did have a silver edge beforehand, I would use enamel paint, and I would be using, a matte black and just give it a quick run round with enamel. Now, on that, don't know if you can see that. I'll try to move her in. Is that viewable? Can you see that she's
close? If you fill the frame with the tender, it'll hopefully change the exposure.
I'm trying to hold thing and see how you guys.
Yeah.
So now we've got. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, that's good.
See that she's now. We've still got the browns underneath, but they're starting to disappear from being red oxide, let's call it, because there's other colours, and you can see this side isn't really done yet.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to do now. I'll just do this side for you. Same again. Because there's other colours going to be added on this yet. This is just the initial. Now, the other little pieces as well, you can see now that that buffer beam is already starting to look a lot darker. We're now going to get some underframe dirt on it as well, all the way around, upside down, and on the top and on the sides. And another little one I like to do is to use one of Ellis's business cards, because obviously he doesn't really use them that much. So I like to pinch him off his desk, but he doesn't know this. And I put a little slot in them, and it's a nice little trick. If you've got a nice maroon or green loco and you're just doing a light weathering job, I can then go onto the buffer, as you can probably see now, and just hold it, because I'm going to see that you guys can see, and just spray in and just spray the buffer head. Now we've lost that black finish on this one, so we can do that. Fronts. Somebody must be desperate to buy a Black 5 off us at 8:30 on a night.
Maybe they're going to buy two.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So that's the tender underframe done now. I'm going to do the same process for you guys, but I'm going to do it now on the Loco chassis itself. So we'll work his way up. I like to do them upside down because I like to get the weathering underneath as well properly, not just a. Now, the beauty of this is I can literally run her around because she's helical geared and get no marks from where the rods have been, etc. Now, I've done this deliberately. I haven't forgotten. The front buffer beam has not been painted in black. If you just weather it straight over, I don't think it's as nice. It's just gone a bit of a brownie colour. I don't think it's got as much depth and texture as maybe it's the real one, as I think you'll probably agree.
Yeah.
You know, so it's worthwhile just putting that initial paint on. You know, if you forget, I could still do it now. So it's not that we couldn't do it now. You could still do it. So I'm just going to do a little bit more on these wheels. Get plenty on them. Into all them spokes. All that lovely paintwork that Ellis wanted has now gone. All that time and effort and getting them colours right. Okay, that's that done. I'm going to pause a moment or two now with the gun. I know I do the other side, but I'm going to do one side for you. I'm going to pause with the gun, and what I'm then going to go to is a life colour pigment, which is called Damp Dust. I'll give you the code of this. It's PG 106, but I'll give you the code. This is a very similar colour to what we've just been spraying on. And what I'll do with this is I'll just get a little bit out when it's lid. I find that the guy that's at the O-Gauge shows that sells the brushes for £10 and what have you for like 10 brushes, really, really good. I use loads of them. I think they're well worthwhile. They're a good enough brush for things like this and general weathering work, but not too expensive. You know, they're really, really good. So what I'm now doing is I'm working upside down again because I want to get some weathering powders onto these now. And this is where, on a model for a client at work now with Ellis Clark Trains, is where the time's spent now. This is where we're now lifting it from just a quick weathering job that takes half an hour to genuinely that take me 4.5 to 5 hours to one of these to do. Because we're wanting the customer to absolutely be impressed with what they've bought as a model, and also the fact that somebody's taking time and effort to you know really go to town on their model. You can probably see now if I start to bring that up how effective that's starting to look now. And we've not even touched the sides yet or anything. We're just doing the initial underframes. So we'll get that again, trying to do it so you guys can see, hence I'm working upside down because it's easier to hold, but work that in. Now, some people are going to say, what holds the weathering powders on? Nothing. They don't need to. They'll adhere to the matte of the paint that's already on there. And there's no way you'll ever clean that off. If I get a flat brush now and really go in there, it isn't coming off, as you can see. You know, you're never going to, if I did that on a model straight out of the box, we'd never get it clean enough to say it were brand new. They just stick. And because we don't want them to be, that's not the pigment we're using to weather the locomotive with, the paint is. It's just giving another dimension to the weathering. It's basically just lifted that, if I can get her in, it's now lifted them underframes, as you can probably see there now. Now, the other one I do like to do with it is, I'm just going to change spray paint again very quickly. Just bear with me. Just get rid of this. I'll just spray it into its pot. It's gone. Sorry about this. Bear with me. I'm now going to use a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of black into the pot. A little bit of water just to thin it ever so slightly. So it's now almost like a sooty colour when it comes out. And what I'll now do is just go over ever so slightly where we've just weathered with the weathering powders. It just takes the edge off those weathering powders a little bit more. You probably see. It just, they're still there, but they're not too much in your face now. You know, they're almost like brake dust, etc. And another one I will do at this stage with this is to go in like we did on the press flows, really, really tight onto the buffer heads and start adding the grease marks. It's the first stage of grease marks. There'll be more done in half an hour, 20 minutes or so, but you can probably see now you're starting to get your grease marks on them buffer heads. And you can see how that buffer beam now is starting to go a pinky colour, not bright red.
Yeah.
Another one we can start to do now as well, if we want to, we can start to now add a little bit more of that darkness onto the springs, as if it's oil grease on inside the leaf springs. So we can start to add that now as well onto them. And another quick one, whilst we've got that same black in, remember back to the tender inside, which was sort of a red oxidey colour, we can now start to blow some darker colours back in, which is more towards your coal dust, etc. And that dark brown rust colour that you get, that's not brown, it's not brown, it's almost going like dark chocolate colour. It's starting to represent that a little bit more now. And we can start to get that inside as well now. So the inside, if it'll show it, is starting, if you can see that, or
yeah,
if the light
okay,
will just get it right, it's just starting to go a little bit darker brown now in there. So that's that little bit done. I'm just going to spray this back out, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to now go on to a colour that is called, believe it or not, weathered black. And it's a grey colour really, that sort of typifies the colour of locomotives in steam days when they've got a sooty sort of coverage over on a black loco or on any particular loco from being that shiny colour. So I'm just going to mix some of that up, and what we'll do is we'll start adding some of that to the tender area. And I'm just going to very quickly flat brush, just give it a quick dust off for any bits of pigment that's gone onto the sides, get rid of those. And we'll now just start going upwards gently, as opposed to spray painting a side. I'm more streaking than just literally blathering it on. Do the back. Now, some of you are probably going to say, what about the lamp? Lamp would come off, but I don't bother. What I do is I will clean the lamp with methylated spirits on a cotton wool bud at the end, because lamps were not perfectly clean. They were clean, but not not like X works just been painted. So I'll just leave them on and I'll deal with them later. Once again, we'll get a little bit more on that buffer beam. And we'll carry on streaking her up. The tender front again, or the bulkhead of the tender. Right, I'll bring that over to yourselves now. And I'll hold it on this side. And you can probably see now she's starting to change completely colour now. She's starting to go that sort of grey streaked colour. I'm I'm just going to spray this out, and we're now going to go to another colour that's called Roof Dirt, which is a bit of a lighter grey in colour. And I'll mix some of that up now, pop that straight in. As you can see as well, I'm not changing my spray gun and cleaning it. Just keep them going. It doesn't matter if these two greys or even some of that black from earlier on, which is now on there, goes in. All it's going to do is just change the palette of colours a smidgen, which is really what we're wanting anyway. So I don't worry about cleaning the gun out until I finish. Keep it going. Once again, we'll put some of these on, which is now a slightly different streak of colour. I don't, like I say, I don't want to do it uniformal and colour the whole model in the same again. Otherwise, we'll lose what we're after. Same again, we can get some inside the tender bunker. That little bit done. I'm just going to pour this back in its lid. Back in. The next one I'm going to use is a military colour, but from the same range, and it's called North Europe Dark Mud. And it's more of a, I don't know if you can see that, it's more of a very dark chocolate colour. We'll mix a little bit of that up. We won't need much of this because I don't use absolute loads of it, but it is a colour that we use. Get that spraying through. We'll just put a little bit more of that on. I'll get some of that more at the top with it being a bit darker for ash, for coal dust. We'll start running some of that down. The other one again now, I'm just going to move the tender back and I'm just going to give her a quick spraying of that on them grease patches. This is the second phase of the grease patches now. And also, whilst we're at this now, I'm going to start adding now, these are the first colours on the axle boxes. As you know, most axle boxes tended to be quite dark in colour due to oil seepage and what have you, and we're starting to add that now. This would be the first start of them. A little bit more on the side. It's how far you want it to go. I do normally do it from photos, to be fair, on a lot of them. That tender side now is probably getting to, you know, 1965, 1966, end of steam round Lancashire, where there are a lot of Black Fives stationed in the last years of their lives. And one last little bit, just to finish this tender side off, is a little bit of blacking now into the colour we've just been using. We're going to darken it right up to black. Yeah, to black, and I'm just going to add some up at the top, which is where the coal dust would start to accumulate as it's been bunkered up. And I'm going to get some more of that inside that bunker. As you can see, it's now getting to a point where, in my opinion, less is more. That tender is probably enough now. That tender side, she's probably gone enough now. The next thing we're going to do in a moment or two is to start adding some pigments to the tender, which we're now going to go on to. I mentioned them before, which are the AK Interactive pigments, and these are now a oil bait, well, enamel based, so they don't wash out. The first one I'm going to use, when I find him, hang on, is this one here, which is called Shafts, Bearings and Grease, and it's like a very dark browny colour. And I'll just capillary some out, get myself a brush ready. And what we're then going to start doing is adding it to the actual model itself. There's various different colours that we can start to use on these. Get the right ones. There's a dark black wash here. There's sometimes when you go into them, they're literally like water. And all I'm going to do is start adding that to this axle box. And it'll capillary on like putting a watered down enamel paint on. And it'll just go into all the nooks and crannies on the axle box. And it will dry within probably 5 or 10 minutes. Don't have to be precise like painting, you know, a coach side, but we're starting to get some colours in. Let's get another one in. Fresh engine oil's another good one. Doesn't matter. They're all very much of a muchness. This one's more of a chocolatey brown. Get some of that mixed in with it. They'll all mix together and make that horrible sort of sticky, oily mess that's on an axle box cover. And I'll bring you that over so you can see where we're going with that now. They will hopefully I'll try to get it so the angle, there you go, you can sort of see what we're getting at now. They're starting to come alive of those axle boxes. Whilst we're doing that at the same time, it's time now to get some more of that on these.
Just lift it up a bit now.
Sorry, I've too low down there. I was watching what I were doing. Some more onto these buffer heads to get them buffer heads greased up. And they'll just start to add to it as well. Next one. So really what I'm showing you now is also what we'll do on the body and things like that, the loco body. They're all the same procedures. It's now how much do you want to go to town on that particular model. So I'm now going to go for a small brush. They're not my best brushes of these. I keep these because we're weathering, you know. These are sort of downgraded brushes. And what I'm now going to do is start picking out with the colour is called Burnt Rust Red, and it's another weathering powder. And I just literally bit in the lid, and all I'm going to start doing now is just sitting there and on the odd rivet head and things like that, just putting some slight nice little brush marks of this light rust, that as if it's just started to blister through the paint, and you can just add some tones to the side on the model. Once again, they don't come off because you can't even get to them. They'll just happily sit there in the nooks and crannies of this model now for its life. Then, you know, they're just not going to disappear. We just work his way in nice and slowly. You know, we can get some on the steps at the back and the mounting brackets for the tender body to go on in real life. Get some on there. And I'll bring it over in a second just so you can see what I'm getting at now with this. You can now start to hopefully see on there are some tiny, they want to be less is more, so it's sometimes hard to show you, but they are there on that model down here. They're starting to arrive down here when you see it as a model.
Bottom edge, Neil.
Yeah, they are there, but obviously they don't want to be bright red and jumping out at you. So it is a little bit hard maybe to show you, but they are on this bottom edge here as I'm sort of putting them on. You might be able to see them there. Look now a bit better. Probably. They are there, and it's just a matter of working my way along now and spending the time. But that's why I must stress I do use pictures, even if a customer hasn't got that particular loco, the one, it's one of its sisters, I will use it to get that right. Another one then we'll also do on this is we go back to, if you remember we did the brake shoes initially, I'll now go in and highlight them brake shoes, or them brake blocks, should I say, shoes, blocks, which are they called? I'm not quite sure now. We'll start to highlight them a little bit now, and we get the back one as well. it just adds another dimension now to that model. They are picked out. You can just about see them there. Look, the middle one's picked out,
Yeah.
the front one isn't. You can see the difference now. They just add a little bit. And once again, we can, how far do we want to go? We can start adding like the front of the drawbar on the tender, which would get hammered to death. We can start adding some onto that, picking stuff out nicely as we're starting to work our way around the model. Probably see that on there now you can start to pick things out, work your way along. Now, repeat that on both sides. We can get some on that rivet detail at the back here. We can start adding some and drawing it down. That's really a tender done. Now, the last thing that we would do, assuming we fitted coal, so we're only fitting coal, like we all know how to do that using diluted PVA and things like that, or varnish. You've all got your own preferences. It's only like ballasting at the end of the day. One of the other last things that I will normally do as well is to just get a tiny, and I'm talking the smallest amount. This one is dust type 2. It's the same one we used on the press flows. Tiny little bit. I'll just get it in my little palette, and I'm just going to mix the tiniest, and I'm talking the tiniest amount there. There's hardly nothing of paint. And I will start now adding the watermarks down the back from runs. There's enough pigment in there when it's dry, when it's been filled up, that it's basically flooded over. That might have been 3 or 4 hours ago. It's now dried, but it will have washed off. It's like throwing a bucket of water over your car. You know, it will wash something off, but not a lot. And we just add a little bit of pigment on it, as if it's moved the dust, etc., down the locomotive. Right, so we can get it on and then just work it in. And once again, it's less is more. Don't want it to be in your face and jumping out too much, but it's nice to just see it. You might just be able to see there. She's just got some staining on her, and that'll dry a lot lighter as well. And then one of the other ones is I'll then go to a gloss varnish. Always like to do it. It's a little bit different if it's your own fleet of locos, because you won't want it on each one. But if somebody's having a locomotive done by us, it's probably the main loco they've got. I will then do some water in the back of the tender where it collects, and just do that running into a corner as if it's still a bit of a puddle. And we'll start to run them in and down these edges down here as if it's just puddled in from there. And that'll dry still. If I can get it in a view. There you go. That'll dry as a slight shine on it, as if she's got some in. And one other little thing, we go back to these buffers. We'll just add a little bit of gloss varnish again to that center, to that horrible grease that if you got it on your hands, it'd be like thick butter. It'd be horrible. So that's that one again. That's sort of those. And if we also wanted to, now's the time to add a little bit of gloss varnish to those axle box covers, to just make the bottoms a little bit shinier, as if they're just seeping. So we've got the darkness, but we've also got a bit of shine on them now as well. So you've got that oil, you know, seeped out, it's gone thick. And that's that little bit. If you really want to be posh, you could do exactly the same on the front end here, where it buffers up to the back of the loco. You could do the same there. So that's really the main tricks on tender. What I will do now is smoke boxes, if that's all right. If anybody wants any questions before I start, ideal chance. You know, give us a shout now if there's something you want me to go through that maybe you want to know a little bit about. I'll try my best if there is any now. If not, I'll carry on and we'll do a smoke box.
Do we have anything, Jackie?
Not at the moment, no.
That's fine. That's fine.
But the only one we did have, Steve Luck, who I don't think can join us this evening. He'd be interested in technique to weather the con rod and valve gear.
I will come on to that. In what we're like for time. Are we all right, or are we?
Quarter to. Yeah, you got time.
Yeah, right. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray that black colour out that we had a minute or two ago, and we'll go over. So we'll get rid of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to. You remember we had a colour that was called weathered black. So we're going to go put some weathered black in, and we're going to go onto the loco itself now. You can see how we're 45 minutes in, and we've only done a tender side, really. You know, so I'm going to do the smoke box on this because I think it's the one that most people would like to know. So I'm spraying it initially in weathered black. Now on the Black 5, all our smoke boxes are a different shade of black to the rest of the model, deliberately to try to get some sort of realism in it, rather than them all being satin black like the Black 5 is. The smoke box is done in matte black, and it makes a big transition to it. So I'm also going to do it on this one again over the top. I'm sorry about the handrails on this one being a bit bent, but it's all you guild members for the last 12 months that have been handling it. It shows. So you can see now how hopefully if I bring her over, how the weathered black has changed that smoke box straight away.
Yeah.
Once we've got that on, just leave it to dry for a minute or two. Won't take long. I'll just put a little bit more on. And I literally do the front of it as well. Let's get that done. I would do the top of the running plates, etc. Anywhere that I think has got different wear or dirt would sit. Now that's also another quick chance to start using Ellis's business cards again and using them for like cab roofs, always in a different colour. So now we can spray the cab roofing using the business card as a mask. We don't need to use masking tape, we could just use it as a mask. And straight away, even if that's all you do to a model, you'll get a massive difference. Now, the smoke box is now dry. That's the beauty of acrylics. They're dry. You know, we'd be waiting hours with enamels. The next thing I'm going to use is an AK Pigments black. You could use the Humbrol ones that are available in normal model shops. They're just the same. It's just I like these from Squires when we're at shows. They're just the ones I like personally to get because there's so many different variations of colours. So I'm using a flat brush, sort of an older flat brush. I've decanted some into the top. And what we're now going to do is we're going to start at the top and we're going to get them pigments in. And on top of this paint that's dry, but there'll be some slight dampness still in there. And get it in all over. Into the nooks and crannies. Get it in there. Get it into all the rivet detail, etc. Give it a quick blow off. I've done half of it deliberately to show you because we're going to bring it over. Now, straight away, if I can you guys see that? Is that?
Yeah, that's good, Neil.
Yeah, it might be a bit more light. Maybe Ellis might try to help. So you can sort of see that. There you go. That might be the one you're looking for.
Good.
You've got some pigment on there now. If I turn it round the other way when I haven't done it, you can see what the difference now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get that in, and don't be frightened. Get it in there. Get it all in the nooks and crannies. Work it in. I'll do the other side as well from the top down. So we want it all around the chimney area. Now, once again, if I get the flat brush, give it a brush, it doesn't come off. You know, it isn't going to go And the other nice thing is you can actually buff it up a little bit as well for further down. So we've now got a well-worn smoke box. Next thing we're going to do is back to our flat brush again. When he remembers where he's put it, but it's a smaller flat brush now. We're going to use one that's something like that. Okay. Let's see it against my finger. So it's not massive. And I'm going to go back to, you remember we had the burnt rust red, which were like the rusty colour that we used on the brake blocks. If we now start going where the build-up is on your photographs of rust around the saddle area, around the rivet area, we can start dab, dab, dab. Nice and gently dab. Dab her in, work her into rivets, where you want it to be, round the steam pipe, etc. And you can start to build up. And I'll come and show you in a second. I'm just going to give it a quick dust off. Now there, hopefully that'll show for you. Does that show there at a bit of an angle now? You can start to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can start to see. Less is more. I don't want it bright orange or anything like that. I'm not wanting that. We're just starting now to build up those rust colours. Okay. Now, there are other types of browns that you can use that are a little bit light, a little bit darker. If you want to put one of them on as well to change it. The other one we could also start to use is, if we really wanted to, one I like to use is a slight white coloured one. Just put my brush down. I can't remember where I put it.
Behind the loco.
Where did I put that?
Behind the loco.
Ah, thank you. Well done from a couple 100 miles away.
That's part of the game, by the way.
Yeah.
Behind you. We've gone past Panto season.
The next one is, we're now going to add some white ash to the front. You might not be able to see it, but we'll bring it forward.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, it's subtle because we're now going to give it a quick dust. So we've got rid of some of it. It's not too much now, but it's there. Also, with that, we can start adding maybe a little bit of lime scale around where some of the steam pipes go in. We can just start adding some little bits. And you can do the same again on the boiler area by the washout plugs, etc. They're just starting to add. You can probably see that highlighted there now. It's just highlighting slightly. And it's just a matter of bringing it alive slowly. Another quick one is, if I point in there, there's a set of lubricators where I'm pointing at there. Those lubricators, if you remember back to the fresh engine oil that we used, them lubricators get filled up. So we need to add some pigment, if Ellis can shine onto it, some pigment into there. It's just there we're looking. There's some pigment in there now. It might not pick it up, but there's some pigments into those. Now, I'm conscious that you have an hour, and I know it's 5 to. Somebody asked about rods, etc. What do we use? Rods, I'll cover now. Basically, put Ellis's business card inside, like so. Get the same colour we've just been dealing with and a little bit of black mixed in, and paint them in with these MIG colours. As you can see now, that is start to be a greasy, oily rod. And we just, I've got some more. Just work your way along, making sure you do the top and the bottom, because obviously it's a moving part. These are only like water in thickness, so they're not going to affect the running of the model, I can assure you. The model will run perfectly, and we can just keep moving around. Obviously, if she's a model that's not got a helical gears, you'll have to put some power to it. We'll move her along and start painting them in. We can add a bit of black to it if we want. just to change its tone slightly. I'll turn that one round for you. See if we can see it better. There we go. You can see now they're starting to shine. If you want less, now these are already chemically blackened on ours. So if you wanted a polished rod that were, let's say, LNER A3 1932 or something that had come out of King's Cross and it's done a couple of runs up to Peterborough and back, then I would take that off with a cotton wool bud. So you've just got the residue in the corners, in the edges, as if it's been what somebody's walked around with a greasy rag and cleaned them off. We're talking end of BR, nobody cared, you know. So we can get that. Hopefully that covers that. The last little bit, if I've got time, I want to cover, because somebody will whinge at me at the next show. If not, is
we can carry on till 10 o'clock, Neil. We're all right.
all right. Okay. Is the ash, and the ash is barbecue ash.
Oh.
It's not bought, it's proper ash. So if anybody's got a coal fire or anything, the thinnest ash you can get, it's literally, you know,
Like talcum powder.
Like talcum powder. And all I do is your normal watered down PVA that you'd use for ballasting. Just put a bit on here, as you normally do. As modelers, we'll just get a little bit on that brush, bit on this area, in the corners, bit of watered down PVA on. We're not wanting much. We don't want it to be covered like a load of ballast. Little bit on the same flat brush that I use for the black powders on the smoke box. Tipple some into the corners, into that back. Just put his lid on a minute, then I don't knock it over. Quick blow it off. And that's it. That's all it is.
Very
That's
effective.
all it is. It's just one of those. Now, I know you could say every one of my locos wouldn't have that. Totally agree with you. But when I'm doing that one loco for that customer, I want him or her to have, if they're having a bespoke model done, they'll get all the bells and whistles. So they'll get them all, because chances are the other one that they've weathered probably doesn't have them. So in that, it's only fair for them. So if we look at the one that's in the magazines, etc., she's got it on there, as you can probably see. She's the one that's been in all the images this week. And that is what I would call medium to heavy weathering, is this one. We're looking forward to doing it very shortly. The lined black fives are due into stock. I haven't done one of them yet, but I think they're the ones that most people would be looking forward to, because it's the version that most people remember.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps you, because I genuinely, we could be sat here till 2 o'clock in the morning for me to weather a black five from start to finish, because genuinely that's how long we do take on them here, because they're not just a quick blow in with one color, off you go. Genuinely not. We're not wanting that service for people, you know. Hopefully that's helped. Is there any questions on anything that I've covered tonight, or anything I can help with? Please throw them at me. I'm fine. You know, I'm not going anywhere at 9. But if you want some questions, I'm more than happy to.
So if anybody has got any questions they'd like to pose to Neil, if you want to put in,
I've tried to cover.
Unmute.
I've tried to cover the model in general. The tender sides are no different than doing the loco sides. The only thing I would say is, with it being acrylic, we can get a cotton wool bud and clean the windows, because it's one of my pet hates that sometimes weathering's done over the windows and nobody cleans them. Drivers and firemen clean windows, they need to see. It will come off beautifully, because a little bit of methylated spirits on your cotton wool bud will take the paint off straight away. So you can clean them straight back. You know, if you want to add some oily streaks down a cylinder and all round here, it's the same again. It's the MIG Interactive weathering pigments. They'll just run in and capillary in lovely. Say Squires sells them at all the guild shows. So, is worthy of going and have a look at.
We've got a question from Philip Downs, Neil. What areas would you concentrate on, and what methods would you work on for, say, a preserved loco that has spent a season in the main line on the main line in passenger work?
That's a good question.
It is. It is. No, it is. I would, on that straight away, I would internet and find the locomotive first of all, rather than guessing. And with that, then it would probably be, and I'm doing this off the top of my head now, I would probably, depending what the customer wants, I would probably a very light weathering underneath on the running gear, because she wouldn't be blathered. There would be some grease on the buffer heads, because she's buffered up to probably Mark 1 stock, and it would have them. I wouldn't probably do the grease on the axle boxes, because literally she's preserved, she'd be well maintained. The model itself, I would normally give it a weathering with, depending what the client wanted, but I would normally give it a weathering with a black acrylic, even if it were a BR green loco, and then I would take my time and clean it all back off with cotton wool buds, so it looks like it's a polished back finish, but slightly dirty in the nooks and crannies. I did a Duchess like that a couple of months ago that were on for a client, and you get an oily rag finish. And I would probably also, depending on the loco and how we wanted it, it may also get a gloss varnish, depending whether or not it's a bulled up, let's say, Black 5 that is on the main line. It might actually have to change its image a little bit, and I might have to gloss varnish it before I started. All depends on the client, does that one, and how far we're going and what they want out of it. So I would personally ring that customer up, as I do on most of them, and say, what do you want? I want it shinier, right? Okay. And I gloss varnish it, and then I would start getting paint into the corners and cleaning it back off. So it might be more time taking paint off than putting paint on that one. Probably do the bunker a little bit similar, but maybe not as harsh. Probably the odd watermark on the boiler, where stuff's run down from the whistles, etc. And probably that would be about it. It probably not as daunting as this one, really. No rust on it or anything like that. Hopefully that answers it a little bit.
That's really good. You want to do the next one, Jackie, or shall I?
I've got one from Mark Evans saying, superb presentation, Neil. Looking forward to my lightly weathered version. The bit of ash effect is superb.
Right. That means he wants a bit of ash effect then. That's fine. Yeah. But I mean, I do it on them all because they are a one-off for that person, aren't they? So it can go on everyone. If they were all going on one layout, they'd all look a bit uniformal like that, but they're not going to be. So they're all, slightly different, but the same, if you know what I mean.
And Philip Downs has just given you a thumbs up for the
Thank you, Philip. Cheers. Thanks.
Stephen has said, many thanks for the demo. Very informative. What pressure are you spraying at?
I need to remember because I set it 4 years ago. I think off the top of my head, it's about just under 2 bar on it down here.
28 psi.
Yeah, I think it's about that. I very rarely have to change it, but that's probably because all I'm doing is weathering.
Yeah.
I'm not painting a loco or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So my gun is just literally weathering all day long. If that helps. I can dive under and have a proper look if you want.
No, I think that's quite right. I mean, I know when I do stuff, I'm down at about 15, 20 psi.
Yeah, so it's somewhere around about 2 bars, something like that.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. Yeah.
It all depends upon the paint you're using, the brush you're using as well, doesn't it? If you're using a brush with a 0.3 head or a 0.5 head.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said before, I use a Iowata Neo.
Yeah.
Basically because this Iowata Neo is 5-year-old now, Ellis.
Yeah.
It's done its job. It gets the nozzles replaced, it gets a needle replaced about every 2 months, admittedly, but it gets used. every day of the week. 5 days a week, it's getting hammer, but it hasn't broken as a gun. I'll give it, I'll give it its due for, I could have, Ellis had quite happily bought me, top of the range, and I went, nah, I don't want to break it. I have one sat there if I need it, a very top of the range, but I find it's a good workhorse, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
It does its job, If I was, spraying a lovely coach in Crimson Lake, then maybe I'd change it. But for weathering, it seems to do its job, more than adequately.
Brilliant. Michael Fritz says many thanks for the outstanding demonstration. So thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you.
Has anybody else got any questions? Would anybody like to unmute and ask a question of Neil? Alex is shaking his head now. So if everybody's happy there. Stephen again, many thanks. Very helpful info about the airbrushing. Looking forward to my BR lined version.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, that's good.
I must admit, I'm looking forward to doing a BR lined one.
Yeah.
I think Ellis is nipping somewhere, so don't disappear yet. And I know where he's going. I tell you what we will do, if it's all right with you as a guild, when the Pullman's coming later on this year, we'll do a light weathering job on a Pullman, like roofs and things like that. Because Pullman's okay, we all know were prestigious and never got dirty, but the roofs did and the underframes did. Let's be fair, So we'll do something like that, and then in the future, when the sharks and the hoppers come in, we'll look at doing something on those as well.
That'd be brilliant.
Somebody's bringing over something, and I'll let Ellis pop his head round for a second.
Just while Ellis is doing that, just before he does, Michael's Galaxy Tab. Hi, great demonstration. I'll have more confidence taking my next project now. And Alex has said, I found it simple and the Weather Black 5 is a real work of art.
Thank you. I know Ellis just wants a second, if it's all right.
That's this is our first production line Black 5. Now we've spent about I don't know how many samples we've had of the BR lining, but to get it to get the BR lining right on a 7mm loco, we didn't realize how because we've seen it on 00 models before with you've got your classic red line, your grey line, and your cream line. And on 00 models, it's actually really easy in production, but in O gauge one, because the lines are so much longer, and they're so fine, so close together, and the cream and the grey overlaps, getting it done and getting all three colors and getting them right has taken us ages. But this is our final production. Now the problem is, on cameras you usually can't see the grey because the light gets attracted to the cream, but I hold it really close. I don't know if you can see it, but
it is actually grey cream.
Ellis, we'll see it at Kettering.
Yeah, oh yes, you'll see it at Kettering. You will as well.
There's a prompt for everyone to go to Kettering.
But yeah, that is our production lined Black 5. So these start coming next week. Well, let's say the week after next. So
10 days.
10 days. These start coming through as well. So and that's it's properly painted on as well, to be honest. So it's yeah, the lining is pretty special on these, to be honest. Yeah,
that's good.
There we go.
Very nice.
So, like I say, hopefully you enjoyed that, all of you. I try not to script it. I genuinely try to just chat. You know, hopefully it's all right to watch, because it's hard to write a script and then try to do some modelling. I just try to talk as if you were sat in a room with me, if that's all right.
You don't need to do a script either, because you don't know what questions are going to come in.
No.
So, you have to ad-lib it.
Yeah. So hopefully, you know, I don't mind on any of these. That's why I picked a pre-production that to be fair, I didn't want to weather a customer one at £1,000 and then have to go back tomorrow and go, that bit's oversprayed there or what have you. So I just used one that, to be fair, has done its job now. It's you know, it's been to all the shows last year and been held, and it's an early pre-production one. Hence, I even painted out the wheel rims this afternoon, because they weren't chemically blackened on them. So that, you know, I didn't have to mention about doing that. But yeah, hopefully that were all right for you, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it. and
Yeah,
we'll
that was really good. Dave Howler has posed, would you consider doing a presentation on non-steam locos?
can do, yes. I can't.
Do.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a Belgian something, I suppose. Or, you know, I'll tell you what's a nice one that most people probably do. An 08, a
Yeah,
Dapple 08.
Apple 08.
Because they're an entry model for most people into O gauge. And
Yeah.
if you're an entry modeler or you're somebody that's been modeling years, most people have an 08 if they've got a layout, whether it be in green or blue or any other livery. So it's probably, you know, it's like doing a pannier tank or a Ginty at the end of the day. It's probably a nice one to do in that respect, because it's something that, how can I say this? If you just come into the O gauge world, it's not too expensive to buy.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking £1,000 Black 5 or a 55H or whatever model or a masterpiece model. We're talking it's 250 pound. So it might be a good one to do, actually.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody wants a diesel, we'll do an 08, because once again, an 08 you can go to town on. We can bleach her. We can do if we're doing a blue one, let's say, we can bleach her. We can do bleached rear. We can do some on the rivets on the back. We can get some rust patches running down and things like that. So there's loads you can do on an 08. It's quite a nice one to do, actually.
Dave too has said, fantastic demo, looking forward to the finished item. Bill Eaton, very enjoyable, thank you. Mark Evans again, yes, superb, and what a great model you have produced. Certainly evident of the finished firebox, excuse my teeth, finishing in line with the center driver. Thanks again. Kenneth Browning would really like you to do an 08. Great presentation, well done. And it says Jessica, but I know it's not Jessica from seeing his picture. Thanks, Neil and Ellis, for your time tonight. Excellent demo.
Yeah, pencil us in for an 08 then, sometime later in the year. I'll do
and then a Pullman. It might be 2024, the year of Neil. Yes.
yeah, pencil us one in. Can't ever do a Friday night. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Right. If everybody's finished, then I'm going to remove the spotlight from Neil for the moment, and I'm just going to share screen with everyone just to take us through what we're doing the rest of the year. Where's my thing on share screen? So hopefully everyone can see this. Next month, our next evening is with Nick Dunhill, and he's going to show us how to cut sheet metal materials for either new parts or for scratch building. And Nick has been scratch building, I quote, man and boy, he said, for nearly 40 years. So he knows a bit about how to cut metal straight or curved or whatever shape. So that should prove quite an interesting session as well for anybody that's interested in making things themselves. The rest of the year so far for the evening with calendar, following on from Nick in February, is we have a session with Will Heath from St Neots Model Railway Club, and he's going to be doing a session on building buildings from cardboard or card materials, and he's a very skilled modeler in making buildings from card. April, we're joining Rob Pullum, and he's going to discuss working with lathes and also probably moving on to milling machines as well. This is really for making components, tools, and other sundry items, and explains why a lathe or machine tools can be beneficial to those of us that are building locos, rolling stock coaches, wagons, even parts for layouts themselves. In May, Peter Reynolds is doing a session on DCC control of servos to operate signals and accessories using products that are currently available from manufacturers out there on the market. And then in June, Rennie Lord from Normanton and Pontefract Club will be presenting a session on their new layout, which is based on Selby, including the famous swing bridge. So that's the first 6 months so far for this year, and we've the rest of the year isn't currently booked in yet because we've got hopefully some exciting seminars to bring you that we're waiting for confirmation on. For anybody that's not a guild member, we are still running the 1 month trial where you can join the guild for a month for free, and with the option to then join off the back of that 1 month. It's a rolling calendar membership now, so it basically your membership starts when you join rather than doing it once a year, as a lot of clubs do. So if anybody's interested in that, you can go to the Guild website. On the home page, you can see here, there is a section that says About Us, pointed to by the big red arrow. If you click on that, you then get a drop-down box. And if you then click on the Join Online, as highlighted here, that takes you to a page where you can then decide what membership you want. Oops, apologies. Annual UK membership, annual overseas for anybody overseas, student membership, and then of course here at the bottom the free 1 month trial. So you can have a look at our Guild website, look at the publications, and look at all the other areas that we have that are currently for members. And there is an awful lot there, including links to our YouTube channel, where there's currently over 600 videos we've got on there now from memory, and nearly 2,000 subscribers. And moving on from that, our first show of the year, as we've mentioned, Kettering, our spring show, is coming up on the 2nd of March at Kettering Leisure Village, Thurston Drive in Kettering, funny enough. So admission, £10 for members, 15 for non-members, advance tickets, whereby on the door it's £12 for members and £17 for non-members. So I think this year's show is going to be quite a good one. I think actually I'm looking forward to Kettering more than some of the other shows that we've got coming up later this year. And as you can see, we've got Kempton Park, our summer show on the 1st of June. Guildex, our 2-day convention, 7th and 8th of September at Stafford. And then winter show, although it says here TBC on this flyer that was the only one I could find, our winter show is in Wigan. That was that 7th of December, Jackie?
Yeah, we have got a Wigan flyer, but you didn't see
which
where
I
that
can find.
was.
Yeah, so there is a winter show this year. So 4 shows this year. Winter show is our new one in December the 7th at Wigan. So I'd like to take the opportunity now to thank Ellis and Neil for taking the time out again to support us with this Evening With session. Ellis and Neil have been great in supporting the Guild, not just with our shows, but with these sessions, and not so much telling the Guild, but letting the Guild know what we're doing well as one of our traders that we trust and have come to all our shows. So thank you again, guys. I really appreciate it. For those of you that have joined us for the first time, we hope to see you again later on this year or next month, March, April, or even face-to-face at some more shows coming up. So I just want to wish you all the best and thank you for joining us this evening.